So we're starting to record, and I just want to say welcome to everybody. This is the sixth seminar in our weekly series. Last week we were talking about health and climate change, and tonight it's youth and climate action. My name is Clark Mackey. Let me just go to the next slide here. My name is Clark Mackey, and I will be co-hosting tonight with Leslie Rudy. As usual, most people here now already know the routine that you type your questions to the presenter in the chat, and after the presentation, which will be probably about 15 or 20 minutes, we'll read the questions to Isi. It is being recorded. Some of you heard that thing. I just started recording it a minute ago. There's our email if you need to get in touch with us. As usual, we want to acknowledge where we are and that the fact of settler colonialism. We are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, and climate change and settler colonialism are closely related, as I've said before. Tonight we are very privileged to have Isadora Duncan, or sorry, I'm sorry, Isadora Ferguson, who her name is Isi to her friends. She's a grade 11 student at Kingston Secondary School. She's part of the Sweetgrass Circle at her school and is an activist for Fridays for Future. During the lockdown and the COVID-19, when Isadora and her friends were unable to protest or do climate strikes on Fridays, they actually got together to produce a movie, which we will be seeing tonight. So please welcome Isadora. I'm going to stop sharing and let you take over, Isi.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Isadora Ferguson. Thank you very much for the introduction, and I am very grateful to be here, as well as grateful that you are all taking time out of your night to be here, learning about the youth's involvement in the climate movement. So I'm going to go ahead and start my slides. So I'm going to share my screen. Share my screen. And then here we go. Can you see my presentation?
No. Oh, there it is. Now we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So I am one of millions of youth in the climate movement, and I want to emphasize the fact that there are faces and people behind this movement, and that we all have different experiences and motivation to strike for the climate justice. So this presentation tonight is based on mine. So a little bit about me. So a little introduction. I am a grade 11 student at Kingston Secondary School. I'm interested in many different activities and sports. And as said before, I currently run the Fridays for Future Kingston movement, and I participate in the Sweetgrass Circle at Kingston Secondary School, where we are currently planning to plant a tiny forest on KSS property. In the future, I hope that I can get a job in biology or architecture, pretty much anything not a desk job. And this might seem odd that I'm starting a seminar with my life goals and ambitions and what I want to happen in my future, but I believe that it is perfectly fitting. This climate movement is rooted in the youth's want for a future. We are asked through our childhood and early youth where we will be in 100 years or what our dream job is, as though there are endless possibilities for our future, when in reality, it isn't guaranteed. We spend our life dreaming and even encouraged to dream by our society about these endless possibilities for our future, just to find out that it is destroyed right in front of us. And I know that nothing in the future is absolutely certain, but going off of what science tells us, extreme weather, disease, forest fires, among many other predicted disasters will occur within my lifetime as a result of our society. As youth, we are not looking for an apology nor empty promises. but we want and demand climate action and justice. Justice for the greed of stealing our future, the future of the flora and fauna and of our planet. And although some of us are not at the legal age to vote or even drive a car, that does not mean that we are not mature enough to take action where action is needed. So tonight in my seminar, I will be talking about the involvement of youth in climate action, our overall mission statement, why we strike for our future, and then at the end, I will be showing our climate video that we have been working on for 3 months now, I guess. And then there will be time for any questions at the end of the seminar. So to start off, youth and climate action. So over the years, you might have noticed that the youth of the world have become the face of climate movements. And a well-known movement is Fridays for Future, which is part of a hopeful new wave of change, which inspires millions of people to take action on the climate crisis, including us youth in Kingston. So Fridays for Future is a global climate strike movement that started in August 2018, when Greta Thunberg began a school strike for climate outside Swedish Parliament every school day, demanding urgent action on the climate crisis. The hashtag Fridays for Future was created and quickly spread around social media, which encouraged other young people all over the world to join the movement. This marked the beginning of the global school strike for climate. The goal of the movement is to put moral pressure on policymakers, to make them listen to the scientists, and then to take forceful action to limit global warming. On their website, their demands are to create a safe pathway under 1.5 degrees, climate justice and equity for everyone, and to follow the Paris Agreement, and then to unite behind the science. So according to strike statistics, more than 14 million strikers worldwide have striked with Fridays for Future, and this includes strikers here in Kingston. So now a little bit about Fridays for Future Kingston. So Fridays for Future Kingston works towards inspiring youth to get involved with strikes and other initiatives like our recent climate video. In the past, large strikes have been organized. However, in today's current pandemic, we are planning for the future and other projects. This includes writing articles in the local Kingston Secondary School newspaper for students across Kingston to access information on current events regarding the climate crisis. I believe that it is important that even though COVID has made it increasingly difficult to arrange strikes, that we should still keep up with the news. And the next planned Global Fridays for Future strike will be on March 19th, as highlighted in my slides. So the overall mission statement. From looking at different climate movement mission statements in addition to ours, this was the common response: to demand the implementation of specific climate action plans across all levels of government, respect for Indigenous land, environmental justice, protecting Earth's biodiversity, and making agricultural practices more sustainable. We do this through advocating and striking, where we want to change the system and we intend to change the system. Our motivation to strike. So in short, our motivation to strike is fueled by our want and need for a future. We want a future. We don't want to die from droughts, forest fires, disease, pollution, floods, etc. We want to die of old age like the generations before us. And protecting our future consists of protecting the wildlife, the environment, and changing the system that our society is built on. In order to protect the future, the youth commonly strike in person with signs. However, advancements in technology has made it possible to strike virtually. This has allowed people to spread their message through different platforms, including social media and music. So social media includes Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, in which hashtags are used to spread awareness, like Fridays for Future uses the tag hashtag Fridays for Future. And music is another form of spreading awareness. In a song that my rowing team actually rows to, it's a very intense song, but I would highly recommend to listen, is Blood in the Water by Grandson. And quoting a line from its lyrics is, "The price of your greed is your son and your daughter." And I have a tiny YouTube video here, so maybe we can listen to it. Just a few seconds.
your greed is your son and your daughter. What you gonna do when there's blood in the water? Look me in my eyes, tell me everything's not fine. All the people ain't happy, and the river has run dry. You thought you...
Yes. Oh, still playing. Okay. Oh, I don't know how to fall asleep. Okay. In doing this, striking for our future, we defy social norms, norms that past generations have followed, in which exploiting Earth's resources, polluting the air, water, and soil, building infrastructure upon infrastructure on sacred land, and burning carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, ultimately destroying the only livable planet in the solar system, one that provides a home to more than 11.3 million species across 7 continents and 5 oceans, is deemed as okay. We don't want to just fix the problem, we want to change the system. As youth, we are not yet affected by the values that society puts on money. We are not yet molded to live in this materialistic society. We have the ability to see the flaws of our society and to call for action for change. So without further ado, I would like to present our film, and I think this is when the other screen can be shared.
Tennessee, a massive tornado hitting.
Laura slamming the Gulf Coast.
2020 shattering records around the world.
Deadly wildfire.
Historic flooding across eastern Canada. Water levels along the Ottawa River continue to rise.
The United Nations wants countries to declare a climate emergency.
We are facing a dramatic emergency.
City is in a climate emergency.
A declaration of a climate emergency.
The UK government has declared a climate and environment emergency.
We will burn if we don't drown first.
Our failure to address the climate crisis
has led to the 6th mass extinction of species in all of history.
Record heat,
rising sea levels,
droughts, disease,
and bleaching of the coral reefs,
among many other disastrous effects.
Our toxic society fuels the destruction of our planet.
Our Great Lakes are threatened by pollution and coastal development.
Greenland has lost an average of 279 billion tons of ice per year between 1993 and 2019.
Canada's 5 big banks have collectively financed over $641 billion in fossil fuel projects since the Paris Climate Agreement was signed.
We ask that those responsible be held accountable.
The richest 10% accounted for over half of the emissions added to the atmosphere between 1990 and 2015.
Despite growing awareness and urgency regarding this crisis, greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise.
We demand divestment of fossil fuels.
We demand the protection of Canada's environment
and sacred land.
We demand the Canadian government to act upon this crisis and to get back on track to meeting its 2030 Paris Climate Agreement targets.
We demand that there is change to the system
and that there is an emphasis on the relationship between people and nature,
rather than material consumption.
The world is changing. We are raising our voices, and you need to listen.
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 That was very glitchy.
Yes, but we saw it in full screen, so that was pretty good. Do you want to share your screen back again to
Sure. Sure, I'll just leave the link to the YouTube video for others to look at in better quality.
Yeah.
And it does come with subtitles as well. Yeah, so I will share my screen again. Let's see. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so before I end this seminar tonight, I want to leave everyone with a question. To what lengths would you go in order to protect your future? Thank you very much for your time, and I leave the rest of tonight for questions, and I will also add resources in the chat box for further research. And don't forget to check out Fridays for Future Kingston on Instagram to stay updated in the loop, because I do not have the Facebook password, but I will update Instagram. Thank you very much. Oh, sources, yes.
Go back to the sources. What were they? Okay. All right.
Let's see. Britannica.com, fridaysforfuture.org, and thenationalobserver.com. Yes.
Right. That's great. Thanks, Izzy. That's a lovely video. I'd like to if you could just take a few minutes. I'm sure there's going to be some questions about the rest of your presentation, but I'd like you to just maybe take a minute to talk about how you made that video and who were some of the people that were involved in it.
Yeah, so majority of the speakers, actually one of them is on the call right now, Erlise. She is my best friend. So there's maybe more than half of them are from Kingston. One is from Alberta, and then another one is from St. Catharines. So we kind of have youth from across the country. Oh, and then also a student from Queen's University. So on TikTok, a social media platform, there have been a lot of videos, short videos, because you can only put 1-minute videos on TikTok, and they're very impactful. And I thought that if we had a very impactful video to express our emotions without writing out a full-on essay or making a very lengthy video, we could have just express how we feel about the climate crisis very impactfully, poetically. So I chose to put out the news anchors saying that we demand a climate crisis, and then also the Google search bar, today's weather, because science has proven that our weather will become drastically worse. So just to get insight, kind of how the youth feel about it right now with all the news floating around, and then our opinion on it.
And did people just use, just a couple of technical questions. So people just use their own cameras, their own like cell phones to shoot their videos?
Yes. How it worked is that I organized a script on Google Docs and I shared it with everyone, and we assigned lines, and then everybody filmed it themselves. And if it wasn't in the middle of a global pandemic, maybe I could have rented a really good camera with a microphone and had everybody come to different places in Kingston. But given the given circumstances, that's what we chose to do.
Yeah. So I must say, I enjoyed the editing, especially where you kind of reversed things at the end. You actually went in backwards, which I thought was really neat. So there was some really, really excellent editing there. So great stuff. Maybe we can hand it over to Leslie now to read some of the questions from the chat.
Hi everybody. I'm sorry if you hear some background noise coming from my end. I seem to be having a problem with my mic and I don't know how to fix that, so apologies. But hopefully you can hear me over, and I will mute myself when Izzy's speaking. And I just wanted to say, Izzy, that I thought that was an awesome video as well. Really good job. I don't know how you did that with just some cell phones and so on. That's great. It's wonderful. I'll watch it again in a better definition, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it even more. So good job to all of
Thank you.
So getting to the questions, the first one is, what strategies would you recommend to get youth involved with various environmental activities?
That is a great question. So in the pandemic, it is also increasingly difficult just because everybody is in these octomesters. So it is difficult to get people to add another thing onto their plate with managing a whole class in a month. So usually we turn towards digital strikes and just spreading the awareness on social media. And then how we get more youth involved, I guess would just be, communicating the urgency of this, which is why we created the climate video, because I have noticed that the youth in Kingston are not as involved with climate movements, because our Fridays for Future is a very small group, for Kingston at least. So in the future, we are thinking of doing it where we have initiatives or maybe stickers or badges, just to get onto what the youth like, just to get them involved in things that we're doing around Kingston. I hope that answered your question.
Sounds good to me. The next question is you kind of just touched on it actually, but I'll just repeat it. What is the biggest challenge for you when trying to encourage engagement of other youth?
Yeah, that's a good question. Something that I do find difficult is that some youth might, I wouldn't say quirky, but it might seem odd or not following social norms of youth to strike for our future. And maybe it might be seem more normal for youth to hang out and not think about the events that could come in the future. So it is difficult to change their mindset and to show the urgency, because I don't know whether or not it's social media that has also kind of made it difficult to reach to other youth, just because maybe they're in a digital loop, if that makes sense. But there are some barriers with getting to youth. Yeah, and that's one of them.
Thank you. The next question is, has your group been involved in any political action at the municipal level?
No, at least not that I have known. I have been the leader of Fridays for Future Kingston for less than a year now. So I'm not too sure about anything that happened before we got into the global pandemic. But I do hope that in the future we can get to the municipal level and get some policies in place, and to get our voices heard at that level as well, and not just at the level that we're at right now.
So many questions coming in, I can't keep up here. Okay, the next one is, how have other youth been responding to your political work?
We have not yet posted the climate video on social media, so there hasn't been any responses there yet, because I wanted it to be, I guess it's a preview on here, so everybody could say that they're the first ones to see our climate video. So I can get back to that once we post it. But there are a lot of encouragement from youth, and most of the youth seem to encourage us, but are not able to fully commit to join the organization. Yeah.
Great. What immediate actions would you like to see the city of Kingston take?
Yes. So immediate actions, it's kind of indirect connection to climate change, but I would want to see more bike lanes and places for not always driving your car everywhere, because I live far out from Kingston, and I would love to bike into Kingston. However, Bath Road is full of potholes, and there's only the bike lane between Collins Bay and then to Frontenac, and then it just ends there. So if they prioritized bikers and walkers and joggers and all the other options rather than cars, I would like to see that happen. And then also, I guess making policies strict policies that our city can follow to help Canada reach the 2030 Paris Climate Agreement, because it's not just, I would say that, I guess I kind of talk as the city, as Canada as a different place, but the cities make up Canada. So as long as we are able to get things on our level, then it will influence the government to take action on their level as well. So bike lanes.
I'm with you on that one. Okay, this is first a few comments, but it ends in a question. So it goes like this. As one of the generations that created this problem, I'm not surprised that you demand action. Trying to get politicians to be bold is a challenge. The majority of Canadians believe climate change is a major problem, but that hasn't changed how politicians act. Do you have any suggestions?
Suggestions for older generations that take action that they can take? Is that the question?
Well, I think you could interpret it that way. I think maybe they're saying, how do we get politicians to act?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so that's actually what we're doing March 19th. And we were using the hashtag no more empty promises, which is what politicians usually do. But we are no longer using that hashtag because Indigenous strikers are using that for their no more stolen land. But March 19th, we will be striking for politicians to start taking action and having strict policies where there isn't wiggle room, where they can kind of get out from taking this action that they are promising and saying that they will take. Oh, and then I guess I'll also interpret it the other way on what older generations can do. So younger generations, we do not yet have a pension plan. At least I do not think so. If not, I'm in trouble. But for older generations, you can align your pension with a climate to climate safety. And this is because Canada's 10 largest pension funds alone manage $1.8 trillion, which is close to Canada's GDP. And how they invest this money is a major factor to how quickly we can transition to a zero carbon economy. So it's a smart to align your pension plan to climate safety is one way to go. Oh, and I'll link resources in the chat about that as well. Yes, I'll do that right now, actually. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So the next question is, why is it so difficult to get young people involved in politics?
That is a good question. I'm not sure on behalf of the youth that are not as involved, because I've always kind of grown up into climate change or interested in climate change and how we can combat it. So I'm not really sure about the position that other youth have or the perspective on this. But maybe it could be because they might have priorities, different priorities. So maybe focusing on the present and not really the future. However, I focus on the future because depending on the actions that we take today will determine how our present will look differently from how our day today goes today. So I guess just perspective.
Thank you. The next one, first they say that they're they're impressed with your drive, and they would like to know, has your group considered choosing a Kingston issue, such as building standards or bike lanes, as you mentioned, to advocate for?
Yes. So I hope that in the future, we are able to get involved with more of that. Just because right now, as I said before, it's kind of hard to get action from the government level before we kind of fix, or not fix, but get closer to the solution on our level right now. So we do want to get more involved in community and the issues that we see here in our community, because they are different in different places. So yes, we do want to advocate for those as well.
Thanks. Since the climate crisis is so much more dangerous than COVID-19, how can we make sure that COVID restrictions don't stop us from addressing the climate emergency?
So there are, on the Fridays for Future Canada website, there are options for striking safely. There is the shoe strike, there is virtual strikes, there's advocating through videos, spreading awareness on social media. That's safe because it's not, and nothing in person. And then March 19th, we are planning on doing a socially distanced gathering of small groups, just to make sure that we are following the COVID protocols, because we do want to prioritize our health. So I guess just being, social media is probably the best option there.
Thanks. Next is, what age were you when you became aware of the climate crisis, and how do you deal with your grief and frustration surrounding this issue?
Yeah, so I guess I was in grade 7 when I got really invested with the climate crisis. I was actually planning on making a petition about pharmaceutical products going into Lake Ontario. So that's when I realized of the climate crisis, just through other environmental issues. But I grew up close to a forest and by Lake Ontario, so I've always had that close connection with nature. So I've kind of always grown up fond of it, and then also wanting to protect Mother Nature at all costs, or I guess not at all costs, but at costs. So I guess a very young age, and how I deal with the reality that we might not, or I guess deal with the reality that my life will be drastically different to the life that I'm living right now because of the environmental impact in the climate crisis, is really just focusing on advocating about the crisis and hoping to change the expected outcomes from the consequences of our society.
Great answer, thank you. That last person also just wanted to say that you're inspiring and refreshing, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next question is relating to the fact that most of the people active in the climate change movement and environmental issues tend to be young women. And this person has even heard environmental issues considered women's issues, which is clearly concerning. Have you noticed this? And if so, why do you think this is, and how can we engage young men?
I guess I would notice it in our climate video. I don't know if you noticed, most of us were females and then one guy. Maybe because of stereotypes that women are the ones that are always having to kind of raise our voices for things, as well as the woman's right to vote, as an example, and that men kind of do not have to get involved because it does not affect them, perhaps. I haven't really thought about that in that perspective, but that could be the reason, just the stereotypes and what are expected of guys growing up, maybe. I don't know, I'm not a guy, so yeah.
Thank you. So this person had a follow-up question to getting young people involved in politics. I guess I'll read this. Is it because you're scared of old people? or just the ones that hang out with them? This person really wants to see young people get involved. So what can they or other activists do?
Right now, it would just be keeping up with the news, because there are a lot of fluctuations in the news right now. So I would just say education and keeping up with the news, just so that when we do kind of hopefully get out of kind of this social distancing thing, we can gather and kind of be more educated and take harder action.
Thank you. For the record, you're not scared of old people, right?
No, no, definitely not.
Okay, the next question is, this person thinks that most young people are concerned about climate and their futures, but don't know what they can do about it. Do you have an opportunity to talk in your school or assemblies or classes about your group and your concerns and appeal for membership and awareness?
Yeah, so right now, we don't have whole school assemblies, just to not mix the grades as a COVID.
You just
bulletin.
lost.
Pardon? I think you're on mute.
Oh, so you just lost sound there for a minute. We didn't hear you for a second.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't know what happened. But I don't know where I lost mute, but Kingston Secondary School is making a newspaper. So I, along with 2 other students, are running the environmental section. So there I will be talking about easy ways for youth, and also anybody who has access to the newspaper, to help with the climate movement. So that could be resources and then updates to what's happening in the world with the climate movement, as well as what they can do at home, like starting a garden, buying local, and tricks like that, that I guess are are in an easy format for students to read, to get news and information easily, because I know that Googling how can I stop the climate crisis it would be very overwhelming. And there are some things that as youth we cannot do, like change our pension plan, as long as at least not what to my knowledge, I don't think I can change the pension plan. But so yes, our newspaper is how I will be spreading the awareness.
Great, thank you. So do you have any tips for youth who are looking to get their school involved in climate action but aren't sure where to start?
Yes, so if there is an environment club, I would definitely go there. But if not, I would ask for a teacher supervisor. Usually the biology or the chemistry teachers are interested in the climate. And then also asking the principal to post up posters about maybe having a Zoom meeting, just to see how many kids are interested. And I guess, my teacher at KSS, we have the Sweetgrass Circle and the Environment Club. So it wasn't too difficult for me to say, could I also share any information about any strikes that's happening, so the students can see, and that was perfectly fine in my school. So I would definitely just organize a group of students, like-minded students, and find a teacher I don't even know if you need a teacher, but just have meetings, and then try to make a club at your school. And then also reach out to Fridays for Future Kingston. Yes, we can always have more students on board.
Great, thank you. Who do you follow? I assume they mean on social media, for ideas on how to buck the system.
Yes, so I follow multiple people in multiple groups, including the Climate Strike Canada, Fridays for Future Canada, Greenpeace Canada, usually the major groups, but then also activists in different countries that have different experiences with climate change and different issues in their city or country. And just seeing how they take action inspires me, and also our group, to put it on the list for future action taking.
Great. Somebody's asked, and I echo this actually, please tell us more about the Sweetgrass Circle.
Yeah, sorry, I guess not everybody knows about this. So the Sweetgrass Circle at KSS is an Indigenous, I guess it's a group that amplifies Indigenous voices and then also incorporates Indigenous ideas, science, into environmental aspects. So planting the tiny forest, and sorry, my dog's outside of my door right now. So just bringing Indigenous ideas to the table and incorporate that, because we are on sacred land, and how to treat it and learn from it respectfully. So we do have opportunities, not recently, but we have had opportunities to speak to elders, and then we do also have the involvement of, I don't know if it's Queen's Indigenous Club, but some Indigenous people are actually involved with the planting of the tiny forest that will hopefully be happening in spring.
That sounds like a great program.
Yes.
Okay, there's a few comments in the chat that if you get a chance to read them, that'd be good. But I'm not seeing any more questions. So if anybody has another question, type it really quick. And if not, then I'll turn it back over.
Here, Leslie, I'll ask
yeah.
Izzy a question. Then is since I can unmute myself. So when I saw the documentary about Greta, one of the things that, well, and she said this a number of times, right, is that she doesn't necessarily want praise from adults.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want adults to be saying to her, "Oh, you're so great," because these are the same people who are not doing anything. And I'm just wondering if this is something that you've come across in your own experience.
I wouldn't say that I've ever been praised for anything that I do, but I definitely agree with Greta that being praised for doing a job that policymakers or politicians are supposed to be doing, I would also disagree is okay, because I don't know if it would encourage them or say that, yeah, we're okay with fighting for our future, in which you are supposed to be fighting for us and putting in policies and legislations. So I think that once they put in legislations and policies, we can praise them for taking action that we've been doing on behalf of them, and that they should be stepping it up. Yeah.
And then one other question is, so what can the people who are here on this call tonight, is there something that they can do about March 19th? I understand you and some of your classmates are going to be having an actual physical march, and perhaps at other schools there might be some other ones, but is there anything else any of us can do?
Yes. So submitting a video either by email or did I say video? I meant photo, to Fridays for Future Kingston on Instagram. And I will be putting up a collage of everybody with their signs just to show that even though there were maybe 5 people on Division Street striking, that there are many other people who are not on outside, but who are supporting us, and then also striking for climate action.
Great. That's really good. That's really good.
Yes.
Leslie, are there any other questions?
No, I'm not seeing any.
Okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to thank Isi for your excellent presentation. And oh, one person said here, Division Street. Yeah, well, that's because I'll answer for Isi, I think, on that. That's because that's close to your school, right? The Kingston Secondary School is up on Division Street near the police station.
Yes.
And that's where you're going to do it, right?
Yeah, just walk down. And I've just sent in the chat some links to some resources of fossil banks. In the video, I did say that the 5 big banks of Canada collectively financed over $641 billion in fossil fuel projects. So I linked some more information in the chat, as well as the UN report that just recently came out called Making Peace with Nature.
Great.
If you want to do more research tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
There is also just a little request from someone who doesn't have Instagram. Can we email you a picture, or is there another way to get pictures to you?
Yes, I will type up my email right now in the chat. This is my personal email that you can email photos to if you do not have Instagram. And then I also see, can we participate in person on March 19th? If you follow fridaysforfuture.kingston on Instagram, I will be submitting a poster about more information, but yes, some students will be striking in person, and as long as we're social distancing, wearing a mask, and following those precautions, then we are planning on having in person.
My understanding is that I think it's possible to have as many as 25 people outside under current rules.
Yes.
So, and if that could happen, if it happens at a couple of schools, then it would be more than that. So anyway, that's just something to be aware of. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Before people leave, I just want to talk about next week and a couple of other things. So thank you so much, Isi, for your wonderful presentation. And I'm just going to share my screen now again. So next week, we are going to have Dr. Kyla Tenhara talking about the Green New Deal. So this is your chance. If you if you don't know too much about the Green New Deal, this would be your chance to find out more about it. Kyla is an expert on the Green New Deal in Canada, so I highly recommend it. And then I just very quickly want to mention, most of you probably know about this already, but the City of Kingston is having a climate leadership survey on their website. It's open now until March 15th, I understand. It's, some of the questions I'm not so sure about, but there are places where you can write in your own information. And so please remember to fill out the city survey with calls for meaningful large-scale climate action beyond individual fixes. But it's probably a really good idea for all of us to get in there and actually fill that survey out. And so with that, I'm going to stop recording.